Right guys, so I'm going to explain what delulu means by giving just straight up examples of where either I or someone I know has been delulu. So number one is when you put up a story and he responds to it and suddenly you think you've become the love of his life. Like you have now created a whole storyline including your children's names, your house, where you're going to live. That is fully delulu. Number two, when he doesn't buy you flowers ever or buy you like little gifts because you've convinced yourself that he's going to buy you like a Birkin or a Chanel.
I am Jack's complete lack of surprise.
Good news, gentlemen and gents. I was actually able to consume this drivel without losing a single brain cell, and I'm not sure if it was on accident, but hey, a win's a win. I guess it was because my brain was able to appreciate the hilarity of this situation. Here we have someone who comes so close to realizing how insane she actually is, but falls incredibly short at the finish line. She has just proven there's a fine line between delusion and the quote-unquote bare minimum. According to her, if Launchpad McChad likes an Instagram story, then it's true love. But if anybody else does the same thing, it's either stalking, no big deal, or simping. And if the world's boldest adventure pilot does or does not buy her flowers, it's a gesture of that true love. But when an average man buys her flowers, then he's doing what's required of him and deserves zero recognition. If he forgets, then he's even more incompetent than a father on a TV commercial. But she will never admit this because doing so would mean admitting that her standards are delusional. And she's just not ready to face that particular truth in this lifetime.
Number three, and I'm definitely a victim of this, is when he says, yes, there's other girls, but you're his favorite one. I am so excited. Like, all I'm thinking about is not the other girls, it's the fact that I am number one. I have made it to the top. I am the winner. Final one is when you're seeing a guy and he remembers something about you. So like it could be your birthday, your sister's name, just anything, what you did last week, a food you like. We get so delulu. We start thinking, oh my God, this guy must be in love with us because he remembers this one tiny fact that I told him. And we live for that. So if you're gonna remember a fact about us, we think you're in love with us.
I don't think any of that's true.
I hate to break it to you, sister, but if Tyronius Maximus says that you're the best girl in his harem, it's not a compliment. That's kind of like placing second at the belly flop competition at summer camp. Think about what that means for a second. Even if what he said was true, which rest assured it's most certainly not, he's going to say that you're good enough to keep around, but not good enough for him to commit. It's not nearly as big of a deal as you think. But you are so painfully gullible that you will alter the fibers of reality to convince yourself that you're making good decisions with your life. And meanwhile, if an average dude remembers your birthday, you'll be angry with him because, well, Pookie came close to remembering your birthday once and that left you feeling way more loved. It's a classic case of rules for thee and not for me, and honestly, we all have better things to do with our time than deal with your double standards, like learning about laminate. I don't know anything about laminate, but I have a feeling it's way more insightful than you, plus it'd probably be a better use of my time.
Yeah, that checks out. That sounds about right.
Here's a little piece of advice. If he says he wants peace, it's just because he either wants one of two things. Number one, he either wants you to not question him for anything that he does, or number two, he's not at peace with himself, therefore he will never give you peace. And that's the things I have learned in the last 2 years. And if it's both of them, run.
Run! Well, here's two things I've learned after almost a year's worth of ingesting TikTok cringe. One, if a woman refuses to trust a man to lead, then she's incapable of being an honest, loyal, and faithful girlfriend or wife. And two, if a modern woman judgmentally objects to a man wanting peace, it's because she expects men to just accept her for her damage and fix her. That, and she's incapable of providing peace thanks to a 1-2 punch of terrible life choices, as well as a crippling addiction to chaos and emotional instability. There are plenty of single men out there who have been treated like dirt by modern women, so they went out and found their own peace. Now, if they decide to want to try again, they will be upending their lives to let a woman in. He's gambling with that peace, so it's not too big of an ask for the woman to take on that role. And if you're not willing to do that, then what are you offering instead? Why should a man exchange his quiet life for one of emotional unpredictability? Now, I don't care what you think you offer. Even if you offered me a refrigerator box full of gold bullion, I still would not accept you into my life. There's some things in life that are just more valuable.
There's some things I don't do.
I'm a kind of worker, right? I sleep with people for money.
That's why I praise the Lord for prostitutes.
And I'm a human being, not a shoe, not an inanimate object, right? So a better analogy to a car or chewing gum or a shoe is a chef. If a chef has served hundreds of thousands of people, do you think he's gonna be a better chef than someone who served one?
Hey, woman, I really don't think that comparison is fair. In order for someone to earn the title of chef, they typically have to put in years of work in some of the most insane conditions. Just listen to any professional chef and they'll tell you some stories. Professional chefs typically learn their craft in some of the most psychotic and hellish of conditions. They work 16-hour days, 6 days a week, and subsist on a diet of cigarettes, wine, and other substances. They're required to create perfection with every single dish they serve, because if they don't, their reputation will be sullied and all of that hard work they suffered would be for nothing. So yes, after years of incredibly hard work, they've earned their moniker and deserve some respect. You, on the other hand, make whoopee for money, and sure, that's a service that certain clientele will appreciate, but come on, society as a whole doesn't respect your profession, and it never will, which is why people will continue to compare you to used bubblegum, just maybe not as useful or tasteful.
Sick burn.
Boring and beautiful. Now, I don't know if I should be flattered or offended. Maybe a mix of both, like...
No one makes friends with a failure. Okay? You understand?
Sister, please, for all of our sakes, just take it as a compliment. Calling you boring is the nicest thing anybody can say about you. You can't even come up with a response to that comment that would even be remotely considered mildly intriguing. And this is coming from a guy whose favorite genre of movie is the brainless straight-to-video action schlock from the mid to late 90s. Speaking of which, have you seen Militia? I'm telling you, it's one of the best movies around. It's got the perfect blend of actors who are just happy to be working. And I don't know what it is about Dean Cain, but even when he's putting in zero effort, he's still way more charming than any movie actually deserves. And that is only outmatched by Stacy Keach, the golden gem of cinema. Regardless of the movie, you will always see this man give 150% every single time. And if you need another reason, well, let me tell you, this movie's got some balls. I'm not kidding. It's got the nerve to straight up rip off footage from Terminator 2. The use is so blatant that I'm kind of afraid to show clips because of YouTube's copyright protection rules. So you're just gonna have to take my word for it. Militia's one of the best movies around. Check it out eventually. You might be entertained. Or not. I really don't know your movie preferences.
A couple go-to answers whenever people ask why I don't have children yet or when am I gonna have children. My favorite one, and I've been using this for years, I go like this. I say, honestly, I would have a ton of children on the one condition that I got to be the dad. If I got to be the dad, we'd have 12 children by now. I love them all to death. Now, this isn't necessarily true, as like, even if I was a dad, I would do a lot. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be like a lazy ass, and I don't really want that either. But what I like about that answer is that it really, first of all, it leaves people quite speechless. Like, you can't really say that to someone and they keep arguing with you about why you should have kids as a woman, because it really draws attention to how insanely big of an ask having kids is when you're the woman. Not that big of an ask when you're a man. It's not that big of a debate. It's kind of like, well, sure, worst thing happens, I can always run out on this kid and just pay child support. Nobody's gonna really judge me, and I can make up whatever story I want about my ex, and most people will believe me, and I can probably find a younger woman to date, like all of that. So I like that answer because it gets people's wheels turning. You know what I mean? Like, I always tell them, like, if I wasn't the one that had to get pregnant, give birth, tear from V to A, whatever, all that stuff, I would have 1 million children, I tell them. And most people really have no good response to that whatsoever. Really, it really leaves no room to keep trying to convince you. Usually just kind of awkwardly, like, peter out of the conversation.
Emotional damage!
Well, good news, Blanche. You can be a dad whenever you want. Thanks to modern society making it impossible to find what makes a mother and what makes a father, you could just go ahead and be the dad, and not only would it be considered socially acceptable, you will be praised by a society of mindless drone cultists who will celebrate you for your stunning bravery. You don't even need the paperwork to make that happen. Just tell the planet that you're a papa, and then you're a papa. doesn't leave me speechless. At this point of human history, nothing can leave me speechless. It's not like having children is a basic biological drive that's kept the human species going for thousands of years, and it's not like your body was literally designed to give birth to humans. Nope, humanity will continue to thrive even in the midst of a massive population crisis that will destroy all remnants of society because Blanche here doesn't want to be inconvenienced with biology. I've accepted the fate of the human race, and so now I'm just having a ball and laughing as old Blanche here tries to pretend that she's a smart. It's funnier than any sitcom I've ever seen, and it doesn't require me to pay for any subscription services either, so it's win-win.
Which is great. That's really the most reliable one that I have found. Other than that, I'll just be honest. I'll be like, I don't want them. I never have. That's never changed. And another pretty effective one is, I don't want children, and I don't believe that people who don't want children should have children. What are they gonna argue with? Now, if this is someone you don't mind ruffling a few feathers with, or if this is someone that's really been like up your ass about it and like they won't stop asking, you can start throwing out some more spicy ones. I don't believe there's a reason to have children that isn't selfish, and I'm not a fundamentally selfish person, so I'm not gonna have children. You could say that. And honestly, like if you really want like to put an end to it and you're just like, the question is not being asked in good faith, like, somebody's very much just trying to like crab in a bucket you into having kids, and they say like, so like, why aren't you guys having kids? Literally just be like, what an extremely inappropriate question. I told you I'm not having kids, and it's really none of your business why. Why would you think that this is an okay question to ask? I'm genuinely wondering. Some women are not just child-free, they are childless. Like, a lot of women want kids and just haven't been able to conceive, and so they'll say something like, we're not going to have kids, and people are like, oh, why not, why not? What an inappropriate question to ask. Why is my reproductive system any of your business at all? Are you going around asking men this? Like, do you want me to ask why you had your kids and then give you my input on what I think of your answers? I don't think so. I bet you couldn't give me a reason why you had your kids. I bet you couldn't give me one selfless reason as to why you had kids.
It's scary.
Blanche, citing the very specific reason that some women are having fertility issues doesn't prove your point. In fact, it proves the exact opposite. Those are people who are actively trying to have kids, and yes, that might be a sensitive topic, but most folks who ask this kind of question are usually close friends or family members. They're not just random strangers. Those folks have better things to do than concern themselves with how many layers of dust line your womb. Now, you have a laundry list of bitterly pre-prepared statements that gives me the hint that regardless of what you want when it comes to starting a family, nobody wants to breed with you. And I think folks have made this obvious, so your response is fine. I don't want to breed anyway. And considering some of the angry and hurtful things that you've said since I stumbled upon your comic gold, I can't really say I blame any of those men. And honestly, Blanche, you not having kids is probably doing society a favor. We don't need any more angry, mentally screwed up spawns of irresponsibility roaming the earth. We already have enough of those, and they're just speeding up the decay of moral decency.
Oh, another good one is, I'm too selfish.
Let's see that in an instant replay.
I don't believe there's a reason to have children that isn't selfish, and I'm not a fundamentally selfish person, so I'm not gonna have children. I'm too selfish, because it's kind of like anticipating their response. That way they can't use it against you. You can just say like, oh, I'm too selfish. I like my money, I like my free time, I like designer things, I like to travel, I like living in my fancy luxury apartment. I don't want to live in the suburbs and work a 9 to 5, that's for sure. It's like a little subtle knock on their lifestyle, which is exactly what they were gonna do to you, I promise. Okay, if the question is not being asked in good faith, they're definitely just gonna like sit there and shit on all of your reasons or answers or whatever. So the best way to prevent that is to get out ahead of it. All right, I hope this helps. Let me know if you want more. Godspeed.
Women should stay home and make babies.
Blanche, we get it. You're bitter that you don't have kids. That's why you have to emotionally contradict yourself and take it personally when people ask you why you're destroying your family bloodline. Now, I'll agree, there are some people out there who do selfishly have kids, be it to trap a father, use the family court system to get child support money, as well as a source of endless validation from the public, but generally speaking, most folks have kids because that's what people are supposed to do. Blanche, are you seriously going to sit there and tell me that you've never seen The Lion King? That's how the circle of life works. It's not selfish to want to create a life, sacrifice everything for that life, to watch it grow and move the family towards the next generation. In that regard, it's the most selfless thing you can do. good parents give up their old lives for something bigger than themselves? What's selfish is condemning other people for doing what humans have been doing since the dawn of civilization. If you want to be selfishly selfless and act like your material possessions give you a sense of moral superiority, then hell, more power to you. I'm sure that when you're old and you've broken your hip, your designer clothes will rise up to the occasion and take care of you. Let me know how that works out when it happens. I promise, I might actually pretend to care. And that is going to do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button. Ring the notification bell, leave a couple of comments, and share this video so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for checking out the new video, and until next time, peace out, homies.